I'm really excited to talk to Darlene Damm today. Darlene, tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here. I'm a Vice President of Community and Impact at Singularity University, and I help people, companies, organizations, startups, volunteer groups use technology to solve the world's biggest problems.
Darlene, you have a really tall order. If I read your mission, it's very inspiring. Tell us a little bit more about that.
We have a lot of social and environmental problems in our world. The world has been getting better despite everything you read in the news. But at Singularity University, we were founded about almost 15 years ago because we believed that technology could actually solve a lot of the problems that we haven't been able to solve for the last few hundred years. When I first started my career, I was working in the nonprofit sector, and most everyone did not like technology. It was expensive, it broke, it was sort of this top-down solution that didn't really empower people. But about 15 years ago, technology started changing. With exponential technologies in particular, those are digital technologies. So when you use them, when you build with a digital technology, it follows a pattern where initially it's super expensive, but then it falls in cost rapidly while it gets better. So if you think about computers, back in the day, they were super expensive, they were huge, they did one or two things, and now, we carry them in our pockets, we put them in satellites, in, farming equipment, they're everywhere, and the price is going down. So our theory is that if you have a digital product and that product is helping solve a social problem, it can actually work because it's falling in cost while it's reaching more people and it's getting better. So that's the theory behind it all. And this shows up in things like online education, vertical gardens. People are building digital twins to understand how coral reefs work. I could go on and on.
That's really interesting, Darlene. You are responsible for the social impact side of Singularity University, right? So what are the topics that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, so we cover a huge array of different topics. We're aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So everything from clean water to education to hunger to poverty. Any social issue that is out there is on our agenda. And we also cover a whole set of different technologies. People are hearing a lot now about artificial intelligence, but there's also, biotechnology, synthetic biology, blockchain, robotics. There's no shortage of new technologies and social problems, and people combine them in various ways for different solutions. And some of these technologies are creating new problems that we have to be on top of too.
So tell us again exactly all the different areas you cover. So you invest in those ideas, in those disruptive ideas that bring technologies to life that change lots of people's lives, but you also have learning programs. You have a sort of advisory.
Yeah, so we actually focus most on education. So when Singularity was founded, we worked with startups, but we actually worked with people before a startup existed. So imagine you have a problem you're passionate about, coral reefs, transportation, there's problems, right? We had a teacher from Myanmar come to one of our programs because she wanted to modernize her education system. She didn't have a startup. But so what we do is we bring these people who are super passionate about an issue, and a lot of them don't know about technology. A lot of them aren't entrepreneurs. When I came to Singularity as a student, and I didn't know anything, I knew a little, but I didn't know about technology and entrepreneurship. I came from the nonprofit sector. I studied history, right? and we teach them, and then they go on to create solutions. So we're not an investor, we're earlier than that. But we also have programs for large companies that want to come and invent themselves. We have programs for executives. They don't want to create a startup, but they want to better understand what's happening in the world, and how that applies to either their business or what they want to do next in their life.
Okay, that clarifies. Thank you so much for that. Darlene, what is your main motivator?
It works. So, in the first part of my life, I grew up with a lot of these big problems. I was working for different nonprofits, and it would be like, if you made a little progress in 10 or 20 years, that was a huge success, right? But now I'm actually seeing people. The woman I mentioned, the school teacher from Myanmar, she's now providing 500,000 kids in Myanmar with a world-class education in the middle of a civil war, and also the pandemic. And their schools are closed, their schools are being bombed, but they have her solution, right? So it's just, I see we actually have 200 startups that are solving these massive problems. We did some work with the World Food Program, helping them better get set up a more efficient system using blockchain to help refugees access coupons to purchase food, which saved a lot of money and is more efficient. So it's like, I'm seeing that this works, and that's the motivator. Like, we can solve the problems, and we know it.
Darlene, so when did you realize that you're really good at strategic thinking, at innovative thinking? You've also co-founded DIY Rockets and a different company beforehand. When did you realize that you have that quality?
So I've always been able to see the big picture and how everything fits together, all the different pieces. That might be why I studied. So I actually went into college. I wanted to study physics. I wanted to know, what are the basic laws of how matter in the universe exists. I couldn't do the math, so I went into history, which is, what are the human patterns of economics and institutions. So I always was attracted to understanding the underlying system, right? Because once you know that, then everything else, you can see how it fits together. On the other hand, I'm not a detail-oriented person, right? So people have different strengths, but I've been attracted to that, since I was a teenager. These big questions, and then later in my career, people would come to me all the time for advice on different things, and I realized again and again, what I was doing is saying, this is what you're doing, this is how it fits in, and this is why it matters. And you should go here next, because if you see the bigger picture, you can then see the pathway forward.
Yeah, so interesting. Darlene, so what are you most proud of?
So, at Singularity, we launched these 200 startups, right? And we worked with thousands of companies and individuals. But just looking at the startups, we launched 99 new industries at the intersection of technology and social impact, right? And so I'm proud of that, but I'm also proud that a lot of the people who went on to do that work they're from 80 different countries. 80% of our startups have a female founder, right? And so I believe, like, if Singularity is always working 10, 15, 20, 30 years ahead. And you don't see the immediate impact in the first 6 months or 1 year. But the fact that we have so many amazing people, a lot of people impacted, social entrepreneurs running technology companies today, it'll matter so much more 10 years from now when those companies are huge, right? So like opening up that technology industry, getting a lot of different people ideas, making sure that a lot of people in the future have power and can shape our world. That's the work that's
in a better way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Darlene, so what top tips would you have for someone, a young girl who has a vision, who has a vision to make the world a better place with something?
Yeah. So if you're trying to make the world a better place and solve a problem, the solution doesn't exist, right? By definition, nobody knows the answer. So in that situation, you're going to come across a lot of people who give you feedback. This is a good idea. This is a bad idea. But if you're really trying to solve a problem, nobody knows. So no one can actually tell you what to do, right? And the advice you get might not be any good. It might be good, but you just have to know that you're a pioneer. There's no answer, and the only way you will know if it works is by trying. It's the most difficult piece to just go out there and do it, but if it doesn't work, then you know you need to do something different. And if it does work, then you keep going, right? So I would say work on your idea by actually doing it, and don't pay as much attention to what everyone around you is saying or doing or telling you what to do.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic tip. Yeah. Darlene, so what is in store for you? You hold this incredible position at a place that is really building the future and wants to impact 1 billion people worldwide. That's a tall order. What are your plans and your goals, your dreams for that?
Yeah. So the last 10 years, actually, everything that I'm talking about was a theory, and we didn't have the evidence, right? So the first 10 years, it was just this difficult stage of trying to encourage people and support people in a world that didn't believe in them. But those people succeeded. And so now we actually have the evidence. So, so my role is shifting, right? In terms of how do we not just help this first group of leaders, but how do we help the whole world? In my job, I'm just starting to do some interesting work with, people from really all corners of the world now who are coming online. We're working with one individual who's working outside of a refugee settlement on the border of Uganda and the Congo. His name's Brainy Swabu. He runs Spectrum Services. He's using generative AI. He doesn't always have an internet connection. His building got knocked down by a storm, but he has the same tools that you and I have that are now, there's free versions of them. So as more and more people get access to the internet, Starlink, all these different services are coming on. Billions of people have the same tools that I have in Silicon Valley. And that's going to be a huge game changer. So that's really the next phase of the world is going to be changing a lot in the next decade in so many ways.
Yeah. That's both exciting and scary, but very exciting when one inhabits that good space.
Yes, yeah. And there's a lot of work to do also in ethics and regulations. So on the one hand, people are running forward with all these technologies, but there's also a whole lot of people who are saying, how do we, limit some of the uses of technologies that could be dangerous, right? Or how do we take some of these technologies from the future, but how do we preserve the important stuff from the past? So that work's happening too. And that's very important.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Darlene, A, for talking to me, and B, for doing such an important job that is really hugely inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me here and the work you're doing.